Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Restart podcast. So, if you have been here for a little while, normally I do post weekly. However, just like the title of this episode says, I have had the most unexpected life challenges hit lately. And that's why I haven't been on for about a month or so, just because man, catastrophe has stricken in my life. And I want to talk about that because I believe at some point, all of us are going to get struck with something unexpected. The degree of that varies person to person, but every single one of us is going to encounter uncertainty along our path. And if you say, well, probably not, or that's not going to be me, or I'll just worry about that when it comes, I think you're going to be shocked when it does hit because a part of life is trouble. And to believe that you are just going to bypass that and somehow the hardships and the struggles of life are not going to affect you is very naive. And I think people who believe that way are very delusional. So when life does happen to them or things, seemingly come out of nowhere that turn their world upside down, I think they have a harder time dealing with it than people who are mentally prepared per se. So anyway, I want to share with you today a little bit about my own upending, if you will, in my life. So about 3 months ago, I got a call for a wonderful job offer, something in my career field that I could use the information, the knowledge that I went to school to do. It was a wonderful, high-paying job. I could put, all my skills and years of experience as a fitness instructor and a coach and a trainer into use. So not only did I accept the job offer, but I uprooted my life to move to a whole new area where I didn't know anyone and basically start over. What I've realized is I'm 45 now. So what I've realized is the older that you get in life, the harder it becomes to totally uproot your existence. I'm not saying it's impossible. I know there are people that move all the time, but when you have a life somewhere and you're like, okay, I'm just going to pack up everything or put everything in storage and start over, that is a lot easier said than done, right? And then if you've got a lot of furniture or you collected things over the years or just a lot of stuff, it becomes like this excess baggage, and then if you have children or if you have other family members, a spouse or whomever that is moving with you, you have to drag their stuff, so it just becomes more excess than anything. And that's when like a lot of people start to purge of their current lives because they're like, oh, actually, I don't need this. And I don't need as much, appliances or dishes or clothes or furniture as I thought I did, right? So anyway, but I uprooted my whole entire life. And if you know anything about the recent weather changes that we've had, Georgia, where I'm currently living, in Florida, have had two major catastrophic hurricanes within like 2 weeks of each other. So it is normal for Florida to get hurricanes every year. And, we know the weather can be unpredictable, but they don't normally get them like these. And if you're familiar, it's Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. So anyway, back to my journey with my job. So I move over there. I had a great house, big and spacious, and it was within walking distance to my job. And everything was going awesome, right? Well, normally that's when the unexpected strikes, when everything is good and you think you got your life planned out and, everything's just, you got all your ducks in a row and everything is joyful. that's usually when stuff will happen. So anyway, I started the job, and the first one, Hurricane Helene, hit. And the weatherman, you hear them talk on the TV, and they're like, "Oh, be prepared, and this is going to be a bad one, and take shelter. You just never know." And I remember seeing a Facebook post the night before the hurricane hit, and it said, "The weather that you woke up to today will not be the weather you wake up to tomorrow." It's going to be like you're in a different world. And I read that and I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. They're just trying to scare people, fear mongering, and so on. So I didn't take it seriously. But that night that the storm came through, I could not sleep. I don't think anybody in the town was sleeping, honestly, because it was just torrential rain that I had never heard before. There were things hitting the house, but I thought, oh, that's just a stick or a limb or a branch, flying off. It's fine. But around 2 a.m., I kept going back and forth into my daughter's room. So my bedroom is on one side of the house, her bedroom is on the other. And I kept walking back there, making sure she was okay. And we started to hear the eye of the hurricane. It was actually a hurricane and a tornado mixed together, which is like super dangerous, really, really bad. Okay. So I heard that, and it was extremely scary, very just unlike any noise I've ever heard from any weather event prior. So I went in there and I held my daughter tight in the bed, and I was like, it's okay. We're going to be all right. Well, the next thing you know, I heard the crack of a tree and the shake of our house. Like, it literally felt like a bomb had just hit our house. And at that moment, I realized that we had a tree come right through the house. And when I tell you guys, no more than 10 feet away from where we were sitting in the bed, that is the absolute truth. I mean, the living room, was in the middle of the house, and then right next to the living room on one side was my daughter's room. So the tree came through the living room. And then I had a second to catch my breath. And then at that moment, a second tree hit the house. And this time it came through right where we were sitting on the bed in my daughter's room. So the tree literally fell through, knocked out the ceiling, insulation everywhere. So we started to run from her room to my room, so all the way across the house. And my daughter, she said that she called 911. I do not remember that. I think I had blacked out at that time, or maybe I was just in a state of like hysteria, but I don't remember her calling emergency contact. So anyway, we got to my bedroom, and I said, okay, let's go, find a safe place. So we hid out in my master closet, and just bunkered down in there and let the storm pass. But y'all, when we came out, it looked like an entirely different house. In fact, it didn't even look like a house at that point. There was just stuff everywhere. And I realized at that moment, oh my gosh, we just survived the unthinkable. Like, we are walking miracles around here, because if the trees, either one of them, would have hit us closer, we would not be here right now, and I would not be doing this podcast. So I realized that we survived a real catastrophe. And when I walked outside the next morning, it was just complete and utter devastation, unlike anything I've ever seen, like a war zone. It was quiet. There was nobody on the road. Of course, they couldn't, because all the roads were blocked with limbs and trees down, power lines down. I know in our yard alone, there were power lines all the way across the entire yard, just on the ground. So it was really like a really eerie silence, and so long story short, we stayed for another 2 weeks in the house, but we had left for about 3 or 4 days, and we went to a hotel about 2 hours away, because Y'all, when I tell you there were no hotels available anywhere close by, I mean that. Every hotel was taken for miles and miles and miles. So we had to travel a couple hours away to a hotel. We stayed there for a few days. We came back to the house. There was still no power. We tried to stay in the house and just kind of, get through each day with the natural light coming in. But at night, it would get, of course, really dark in there, really scary. And I was afraid that animals were going to get in or the roof itself was going to continue to collapse. That we had a picture window in the living room, and really huge picture window, and the tree that came through the living room broke that window and shattered it into pieces. So the window was wide open. So we stayed there for a few days, but I ended up calling a lady that I knew, and she let us come to her house and stay for a few days. But, I didn't want to feel like I was intruding or anything. So after 3 days, we went back to the house, still no power. So we're going on 10 days now. And of course, we had to throw out all the food, which was devastating in and of itself. And after about 12 days, the landlord messages me and tells me that bad news, that we are going to have to leave because the house is irreparable and we can't stay there. It's not safe. And more than likely, he's probably going to have the house condemned and torn down. So at that point, I was like, oh, wow, what do I do about this new job that I just got? And, we had only been in the house like a month and a half. So we had literally just gotten everything unpacked. So I had the landlord tell me that he was going to get a camper for me to stay in. Well, that never happened. I had a coworker tell me that she was also going to try to get a camper for my daughter and I to stay in. That never happened as well. None of those came through to fruition. So the lady that I stayed with for a few days was looking for rentals for me, either apartments or houses for me to continue to stay at my job. And y'all, when I tell you, she said there was nothing available. I mean, absolutely nothing. Everything in the town was either taken or it was not in shape for someone to move in and live. So I had no choice but to leave the area, leave my job, and move back home and start over. And here I am now in an Airbnb back in my hometown, and I'm once again starting over. But I will tell you that God has completely been with me the whole entire way and has held my hand the entire time. And how I know that is because of things and situations that he has worked out for me. So I did have an inspector from FEMA come to the house and check it out before we left and made sure that it was uninhabitable. And of course, he deemed it not safe to continue to live in. But I am now staying in an Airbnb in a room. I'm, sharing a home with a couple. It is an older Victorian historical home, and the room is beautiful. It is so meant for me to be here. It was destined for me to come here, destined for me to meet this couple, and they are now letting me stay in this Airbnb as a long-term rental, which is a hell of a lot cheaper than the house that I was staying in. So I'm getting back on my feet slowly but surely. And God has opened and continues to open doors for me to start a few things, to get a few things going in the works. I can't really speak of them right now, but I will soon enough. Get some projects that have been on the table and in my mind, get them going and into reality. And so I want to tell you that I thought that job was my final destination, so to speak. I thought, okay, once I get into this career, man, I'm set. I'm going to work there until retirement and I'm just going to, die happy. You could not have convinced me that a major hurricane would come and be a life-changing event for me. You could have never told me that, because I asked multiple people in the town, has this place ever seen a hurricane or a tornado or a storm of this capacity? Everybody said, no way. No way. I had somebody tell me they had lived there since 1951 and they had never, ever experienced anything like this at this capacity. So, I asked myself, why? Why, God, the minute that I move over there, the year that I get there, is there something that happens like that where I have to physically leave my home and start over? And you know what God told me when I said that? Trust me, Sabrina. Trust me. I got you. I'm working all things out for your good. This is happening for you, not to you. And when I tell you that God has kept that promise to me, that rings true in every sense of the word. I am being redirected. I am being pivoted to potentially start new things that are going to make me happier than I was, that are going to give me that life satisfaction and that fulfillment that I have been looking for. The job was good. But I tell you what, even though I was at that job and I was making the most money I've ever made, I still wasn't really happy. And I remember telling my daughter this, like, I would say, I should be the happiest in my life right now, but I'm not. I'm miserable. And I'm still kind of like wandering around because I wasn't fulfilled in my soul. And you know what, y'all? If it took a hurricane, if it took a massive tragedy like that to bring me into a place now where I am happier, I am stress-free, I am living my purpose, and I am at peace, oh my gosh, then so be it. So be it, It's crazy how life works. So when something unexpected happens to you, I want you to look at it the same way. It's happening for you, not to you. It's happening for your benefit. It's happening to better yourself, maybe to get you out of a place in your life where you're stuck. Maybe to get you to a place of joy and happiness too. Maybe you're walking around every day just bummed out in a state of mind that you're just discontent. So maybe that unexpected event is what you need to totally pivot and change your life as well. So don't look at it as a negative, y'all. It is a positive. And yes, we lost our home. Yes, I'm currently homeless. Yes, I'm kind of in limbo with work, but I know that God's got me because of the things that He has worked out and continues to work out for me every single day. So I hope that this podcast encourages you today. I hope that you realize that you're not alone. If you're going through shit, if you're going through a bad place, a low place, if you think you're never going to get out of it, if you think things are never going to work out for you, I want you to know, I want you to look at me, listen to me, and know that I am living proof that it will. I am living proof. So it's happening for you, not to you. All right. If this podcast resonated with you, please like, rate, and share it with someone that you love. Until next time, guys, take care.